Hello, this is Dr. Grafton, and in this video I'm going to be covering assignment 2.4, chapter 3, pivot tables. We're going to continue to use Excel for this assignment, and what we're looking at is to show you this tool that can help you interpret data, how you can display it in tables and charts. This gives you an easier way to interpret it and analyze the data. For this assignment, we're using a spreadsheet file that has the results of 20,000 runners in the 2008 New York Marathon. And from this data, then we're going to create a pivot table and pivot charts to explain what your findings might be. There's three parts to this assignment. I intend to go through each part since they're just a little bit different on how you do these in Excel. So let's start with the data file. So this is a table that has over 20,000 records in it. When I talk about records, it's basically the rows. We see the time here is in minutes. You hold the cursor over the little, it comes up with a tooltip. So the first part of the assignment, it says for all runners who finished in 3.5 hours or less, create a pivot table and a corresponding pivot chart of average time by gender. So we need to convert hours to minutes. So we do that by taking 60 minutes, multiplying it times 3.5 hours, and that gives us 210 minutes. So we're going to be looking for all the runners that finished in either 210 minutes or less. So we're not basically going to be using all the 20,000 records. Go up here to insert pivot table from table or range, and you'll see it comes up with the all 20,000 records, the row there. So I'm going to back off that. I looked it up earlier, so I know that we want to include everything down to row 4681. Okay, so that's will give us equal to or less than 210 minutes. You can look up your information yourself if you'd like. It's going to create a new worksheet, so we'll see a tab come up at the bottom of this one. And it comes up with our pivot table fields on the right, and then we'll go ahead and select the two things that it wants to do. It wants average time by gender. So go over here to the right, and I put a check mark in gender, and I put a check mark in time. And you'll see now it's building our table on the left as we do that. However, it came up by default with sum. So we go over here to the right under values, it says sum of time. Click on the down arrow, value field settings. I click on that, it brings up a dialog box, and I'm going to click on average. Of course, you'll notice up here it changed the name. While I'm here, I'm also going to go ahead and format the numbers since we're going to keep with that same 2 decimal place. So I click on number, 2 decimal places. I click OK. I click OK again. And then there's our table, my average time based on gender. To create a pivot chart from that, then I just highlight the table, go up here to insert pivot chart, and then I'm going to select the default chart. Now you can go ahead and move this up because we're going to create another table and chart here in a minute, and you can add to give it a little more personalization. Okay, so then the second one, I'm going to go ahead and use the same information. So to do that, you just copy and paste the table that you've already created, and then we'll just do some editing to it. So I do a Control C. I go down here about row 20, Control V. Now it's over here, we got gender by average time, but now it's wanting us to do a pivot table and a pivot chart by count of gender. So again, I go over and do value and time, go up to count, and I'm going to format the numbers again. And this time I don't want any decimal places. Okay, okay. And it gives us how many male, how many female. uh, on the count. Now what I do is I can go ahead and edit that instead of just saying count of time. When I had this, I can just go ahead and put count. Okay, that makes sense. So now we just got to count. Okay, now we're going back up to insert. And we want to pivot chart. And again, just select the default. And that gives you that. So now you have a question, so what do these results tell you? So you can just write your answers out here on the side based on what you see. You can clean up the graphs, retitle them if you like, but you can see right away from the visualization that there's probably more male runners than there are females, that the female average time is greater than the male average time. These are just a couple examples of what you might see there. Okay. So the next one then is for all runners who finished in 3.5 hours or less, create a pivot table and corresponding pivot chart of average time by age. So the neat thing about pivot tables is I can, again, copy and paste from here. So I'm going to create another sheet down here. So you see where I got another tab, I just hit the plus button, create another sheet. So I'm going to copy this again because it still has the same rows that we're wanting. I'm going to go up here and paste it on this one. All right, so now it's wanting us to have this average time by age. So we're going to add age in there and take gender out. So it's got age, we're going to put over here on rows. It's got count, so we're going to change that to average time again. All right, so now when we're in here, it's wanting us to break these down into groups. So I just highlight in there, go down on the menu to group, and I want to start at 10. Go by tens, click that, and then voila. So that tells you what groups you have and the average times for each one of those groups. Okay. And now what I'll do here is I can just, since we have times are a format, we can format the numbers, give it 2 decimal places again. And then that's in keeping with what we had before. It's wanting us to chart this. So again, highlight it, go to insert, pivot chart, and I just accept the default chart. Okay, move it up here next to that. Okay, so for the same number of runners and then on the same sheet, we want to create another pivot table that has a count of these age groups. So again, we're just going to copy and paste. So highlight the pivot table, Control C, go down here about row 20, Control V. So instead of average time over here, I'm going to go over here and change it to count. And instead of count of time, I'm just going to say count. And I'm going to click OK. And let's see, let's format the numbers. We don't need decimal places. Okay, okay. Now we go up here to insert, pivot chart, accept the default chart. Okay. So now you can see visually both of these. You can give an explanation over here to the side on what these results are telling you. So write a sentence or two over here, write a sentence or two over here. Now the third one's a little more complex, but I'm still going to walk through it. So I'm going to create another sheet, sheet 3, go back here to sheet 1, and I'm going to copy this pivot table that we had before, Control C, go over here, hit Control V. Now it's giving us gender and count that we had before. But the question's asking us, create a single pivot table of average time and of counts broken down by country, and then filter that so that 10 countries with the 10 lowest averages of time appear. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and add country to this. I'm going to take gender, and I'm actually going to put it over here in values because we're going to use that for the counting. Okay, so we're wanting country, average time, and count. Okay, so we have the country under count here. We're going to change time to average time. Okay, and where it says count of gender, I'm just going to change that to count. Now, why am I using count of gender? Well, it's basically all genders are included in that count, so that would give us a count of how many people from that particular country would be involved in that. Okay. I'm going to sort average time from smallest to largest, because that'll give us then where we're wanting to go. Now you'll notice that we're going to have to change this column. So this average of time down here, let's add the decimal places, okay? Because it's rounding up. Go back here to number format, give it 2 decimal places, okay? All right, now it wants us to do the ones with the 10 lowest. So we've got altogether about 80 countries listed there. We're only wanting the ones with the top 10. So we go over here to rows, value filter, and it says top 10, but we want the bottom 10 because the bottom 10 would be the 10 lowest scores. Okay. So there we are. So we got Kenya, Ethiopia, Lithuania, Ukraine, and so on. Now we need to make a chart of that. Go back up here to insert, pivot chart, and I just accept the default chart. And you move it up there. Okay. So once you've got that information and you've got that table, then it tell us what your results are. You can write them over here or right down by the side. Okay. So that was a fairly fast video to show you how to do each one of the questions. By having it on a video, you could stop it, reverse it, go back and look, and see what I did to explain each one. Hope that helps, and good luck with the assignment.